came to the subject had who knows how many questions. Where's the edge? Oh, how
Right.
could they be lying? Why are they lying? All these questions that come to your mind are certainly going to come to your friends and family and everyone on your Facebook timeline's mind. So you better be prepared to answer them.
Well, hi everyone, and greetings from Northern Michigan. This is Bob the Science Guy. Today is episode 6 of Eric Dubay Answers Everyone's Flat Earth Questions, or as I say, Eric Dubay, Zealot or Conman. Today is the 6th episode and the end of the second week. We're going to go over space. We're going to go over the Apollo moon landings, CGI images from space, and some other miscellaneous stuff. So let's go ahead and cue up the music and tune in, and let's see what Eric has to say.
I wonder if we called a railroad, the actual rails, the manufacturer, if we asked them, do you factor in the curvature of the Earth when you make them? And the answer is no.
I need to wrap my head around that for just a second. Is he asking whether or not a rail that's probably 20, maybe 25 feet long accounts for the curvature of the Earth? Why don't we go ahead and look at a circle with a circumference of 24,901 miles. And let's calculate what the angle of the curve of that little arc, 20 to 25 feet long, would be. As a matter of fact, I'll let you go ahead and do that, just to kind of get an idea of how ridiculously small that would be.
No, they don't. Canals, tunnels, railways, they do not have bridges. They don't have to factor in the curvature of the Earth. The what bridges are the Golden Gate or the Punch Lane Bridge? I heard people say that they say they factored in 2 inches for the curvature of the Earth. That's one of the only ones I've ever heard people claim that they factored in curvature. But even
yes, in fact, they do calculate in the curvature of the Earth on long bridges.
But even the Suez Canal and all these different canals, railways, they admit that there's no allowance given for curvature. There's quotes in flat Earth books for centuries from surveyors and engineers attesting to this. So, and of course that 2-inch one is a joke because the bridge is so long that the actual supposed curvature on their 25,000 mile circumference ball Earth would be, I can't remember now, but many, many, many feet and not just 2 inches.
Well, Eric, rather than just go to the fallacy of personal incredulity, why don't you actually do the math? Let's say the bridge towers are 5 miles apart and they're 250 feet tall. Now, 5 miles would be approximately 1/12 of a degree. Now, at 250 feet, that would be a circle with a diameter of 500 feet times pi. And then we would take that to get the circumference and then divide that by 360 to find out the value of 1 degree of arc. And then what we'll do is we'll divide that by 12 because it's about 1/12 of a degree. And it comes out to about, I'd say about 3 inches. And I think the towers are actually a little bit taller than that. So that's really right about where we should be.
The United States looks so much bigger now. Africa looks so much smaller now. What's happening? Are the tectonic plates changing so much that when we take pictures now, the land mass has changed? Or is it just pure CGI all along?
That's a good one. Yeah, the tectonic changes are causing the CGI pictures to become very different as the years go on. No, that's a good point.
Actually, Wolfie 6020's got a really good video on this to demonstrate why those continents change in size. It has to do with the distance from which the photograph is taken. Now, he went out and got himself a globe and his camera, and he took some pictures from relatively close to the globe. And Australia pretty much covers the entire disk of the Earth that's visible in the photograph. It looks very, very large. Then he backs up about 20 feet and zooms in on the globe. And Australia gets back down to a little bit more normal size. That's a lot smaller. The same thing with these photographs of Earth. All they are is they're just being taken from different distances from the surface and with different lenses. I mean, there's nothing surprising here. It's still Earth.
Take a look at these images coming from NASA and RASA and JAXA and all these different space agencies, the Chinese, the Japanese. Some of these are even worse than NASA, and you'll notice how clearly fake they are, how obviously Photoshop CGI they are. And when you compare them to one another, you'll notice these impossibilities, like the water always being different shades of blue every single picture.
Okay, so the water being different shades of blue in every picture. Eric, do you understand that that's a type of film and a filter issue? It's not like they have to change the shade of the water. What is the point in changing the shade of the water? Some photos are taken in different spectrums and combined. I mean, seriously, man.
The size of continents changing from picture to picture, one time North America filling up the entire picture, one time it being just a tiny little speck on the upper part. You'll have on the animations, you'll notice that the clouds almost never move. You'll see a spinning ball Earth with the exact same cloud formations for 24 hours. Take a look at these anomalies, not only on the pictures of the Earth, but on...
Eric, spacecraft orbit the Earth once every 92 minutes or so. When viewed from hundreds of miles away in orbit, how much do you think clouds are actually going to change from photo to photo? Really not that much. I mean, look at a weather satellite. Look at the photos of weather on your evening news. You'll have a photograph over your country at noon. You'll have another one at 6. The clouds have moved slightly in 6 hours. This is not an argument.
On the pictures of the moon, because we've never been to the moon either. NASA's moon landing hoax is all about going far enough away, supposedly, that they could turn around and take a picture of this spinning ball Earth they've been talking about for 450 years and say, hey, we were right. Look at that.
Yeah. I was about 6 when we landed on the moon. I remember going into the den with my family and watching the black and white TV of Neil Armstrong taking his first steps. I personally watched Apollo 17 go up. And I'm in the process right now of doing an entire series on Project Gemini. Yeah, we most definitely went to the moon. There's proof that we went to the moon. Not only is the equipment still there, but we can bounce lasers off the reflectors that were installed there and measure the distance to the moon to the centimeter. So the moon hoax nonsense is actually an insult to all of the men and women that have died in our space program, in the Soviet and the Russian space program. It's just... That's about it. I really don't even want to mess with it anymore. It's just an insult to our intelligence.
And the raging debate that had been going on since the late 1800s from Samuel Rowbotham and the other flat earthers then was almost in an instant put to rest by this so-called photographic evidence in an age where most people believed we went to the moon because they heard it on the radio. Nowadays, we have computers, we have Photoshop, we can see these things. You can see anomalies in the original NASA images just by putting them into Photoshop. For instance, you will see many of the images of Earth supposedly taken from the moon have artifacts, rectangular artifacts around the Earth directly embedded in the image, proving that the image of the Earth was actually cut and pasted in a computer program and put there that way. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a rectangular splotch of blackness around the Earth in space.
Well, no, actually, Greater Sapien, who is a graphic artist, reproduced these things. Now, what you do is you take the original high-resolution image, and then you compress it into the JPG format, and you reduce the size considerably, and what you get is something called historicals that are around a lot of the objects. He reproduced these things exactly. They're not triangular or rectangular cut and paste. They're little historicals that are right around the contrast edge of the photographs.
There's also images where you can see the shadow of a ceiling above the rover as it's taking off from the moon, because it's simply being lifted by a crane overhead in a studio.
Yeah, Eric, right. Sure. Oh, wait a minute. What's this? Maybe you're onto something.
Many of these things, these have all been exposed. This is common knowledge amongst us educated conspiracy folk that you like to ridicule and laugh at and call stupid flat earthers. But this is just a fact. But they're all fake images. There is no actual image of a ball Earth. If you Google it, you'll see that they're all composites, CGI, or literally taken through a round window in low Earth orbit. That's how they faked the first ones.
Eric, how do you know that they're composite? How do you know that they're not real photos?
That's the blue marble photo, December 1972, from Apollo 17. In order to get the entire Earth on one frame on a film camera, you have to be outside of low Earth orbit as they were. And there it is.
Well, I actually admit that they're composite. Composite's their word, not mine, for their fake pictures. They say that there's satellites out there taking satellite images, and these satellite images, they receive ribbons of imagery, they call them, and then they have to extrapolate the ribbons of imagery out in Photoshop, and they admit it. So they can't apparently just take a photo or take some video out there from their satellites. The technology they use, they claim, is can only make a picture for us if they composite it and edit it in Photoshop. So
Really?
they've got
And of course, here's a recent one from the Himawari, Japanese meteorological satellite. These come out every 10 minutes, 4K. Really nice stuff. That satellite has the processing power and is far enough away to actually get the entire Earth in one frame. And that pretty much looks round to me. How about you?
Yeah,
Wow.
In one of my videos I've got a NASA guy talking about it, just admitting it straight out. He's like, yeah, well, they are photoshopped, but they have to be.
SciMan's job is...
It's primarily taking data and making pictures out of it.
That's what this is. A composite of data sets from several different instruments translated into a picture.
In between each orbit.
So some of those are painted on.
It is photoshopped, but it's has to be.
You know, I really love the way Flat Earth likes to use this quote. This is probably the most misunderstood quote out there beyond Einstein broke the wand of Newton. They're describing a technical issue of taking strip photos of the Earth, which they used to, of course, do on film, and stitching them together to get a composite picture as somehow being fake, when it's merely a technical issue rather than a gotcha moment. It's actually kind of amusing if you think about it.
Yeah. Well, and they also say that there's an International Space Station out there, and there's a Hubble telescope floating out there taking wonderful CGI Photoshop pictures that they send us back with their amazing 400-mile outer space internet connection to the Hubble Space Telescope. And now the internet space connection has gone to over 1 million miles with the new Rosetta mission. Have you seen that one?
Mm-hmm.
The CGI Photoshop pictures from that are just wonderful and well worth the billions of dollars we're spending to get them. Yeah, so the illusion is that there's a space station and satellites and telescopes just floating out there in infinite space. But you and I know that no matter how high you go, you come right back down. Whatever.
Well, yeah, the transits of the sun and the moon of the ISS are actually pretty easy to predict. They occur to the second of when they were predicted to occur, and tens of thousands of people, civilians, have all photographed them. So there it is. I mean, you can't really argue with that. You know, as far as what goes up must come down, where's this one here right now? Anybody recognize this? This is part of the golden record on Voyager, launched into space more than 40 years ago and is still going out into the universe as we speak. It left the solar system quite a while ago. Well, guys, that finishes up this section. This is another week down. We'll start again on Monday. So thank you very much for tuning in and watching. This has been fun to make. I hope you've enjoyed it. So this is Bob the Science Guy signing out from Northern Michigan. Please remember to like and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you soon.
This rabbit hole's too deep for me.